Please join me in Gasho. Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs. Ted and Rose, can you hear me okay? Okay, good. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our regular Sunday service, but it's also Doors Open today, so there might be a few people here from Doors Open. If you are, welcome. And we'll begin this morning's service with a moment of silent meditation, followed by the recitation of the name of the Buddha, or the Nembutsu. So when you're sitting quietly, if you could just contemplate on your breathing, follow the breath in, and then follow it out. And as you're thinking or concentrating on your breathing, your mind will begin to wander, and it's okay for it to wander, but just be mindful of your thoughts, and after you thought of whatever it is, let go of it and come back to focusing on the breathing. Okay, so we'll sit quietly for a moment, and then we'll recite the name of the Buddha. Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs, Naman Nobs. Next, we're going to be reading our pledge together. Maybe I can ask Jeannie or June to pass out the handouts at the back. And it's also going to be up on the screen as well. For those who are either at home, or you can read the screen if you wish to as well. Just give them a couple minutes to hand out the... Oh, are they not there? Oh, are they up front? Maybe they're up front here. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we'll read together our pledge. Our pledge. Breaking out of my shell, I shall carefully share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall be open-minded and act accordingly, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I shall share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life we have received, I shall live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who continues to emancipate all. Namo. Next, we are going to be doing what we call the Sutra chanting, and we're going to be chanting the Junirai. It's on page 63 of the purple Seiten, so if you For those of you who are here for the first time, there's a hardcover purple book in front, it should be around you. It's on page 63. We'll chant the Japanese and then read the English translation following it. Okay. Namandaps, 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 namandaps. 주님 시신 교이성 공간 조라이미 나서 무이소 무료 맹교 무조주 악지식이 오조 다시보다이 고가조라이 미나서 가세의 성그덕지 주대문연여가이스이 쇼냐그생어 쇼조샤 에세준요 쇼이고 So if you'll join me in reading the English translation, and you'll find that in your purple Satan on page
70.
70? On page 70. The 12 Adorations, Junirai translation. Before Amida Buddha, whom heavenly beings worship, I humble myself in deepest reverence. In his wondrous land of bliss, surrounded is he by countless bodhisattvas. His golden form shines forth pure like the king of Mount Sumeru. His practice of truth is steadfast like an elephant's pace. His eyes radiate like pure blue lotus blossoms. Thus I prostrate myself before Amida Buddha. His countenance is perfectly pure and round like the full moon. His majestic light shines like 1,000 suns and moons. His voice is like a heavenly drum, yet like a heavenly bird, kokila. Thus I prostrate myself before Amida Buddha. Avalokiteshvara wears upon his crown the image of Amida adorned with many precious jewels. He subdues the arrogance of demons and heretics. Thus I prostrate myself before Amida Buddha. Incomparable, vast, and pure his virtues are, clearly extending like vast open space, his acts freely benefiting all. Thus I prostrate myself before Amida Buddha. Bodhisattvas from the 10 quarters and countless Maras, demons, always venerate him. He dwells with vow power for the sake of all beings. Thus I prostrate myself before Amida Buddha. In the golden treasure pond where the lotus flowers bloom, established with goodness is a wondrous throne, where reigns the Buddha like the king of the mounts. Thus I prostrate myself before Amida Buddha. From the 10 quarters bodhisattvas come, revealing wondrous powers, they attain blissful state. Honoring his face, they offer eternal homage. Thus I prostrate myself before Amida Buddha. All things are transient and without self, like the moon on water, lightning, shadow, or the dew. The Dharma cannot be expressed by words, the Buddha proclaimed. Thus I prostrate myself before Amida Buddha. No words of evil are in his land, no fear of evildoers, nor evil paths. With sincere heart all beings worship him. Thus I prostrate myself before Amida Buddha. His land of infinite expediencies is without degenerate things or wicked beings. Upon rebirth, non-retrogressive Bodhi does one attain. Thus I prostrate myself before Amida Buddha. Thus have I praised the virtues of Amida Buddha. Boundless are they like the water of the sea. Upon receiving these pure and good qualities, may all beings be reborn into his land. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha. So once again, good morning everyone, and welcome to our regular Sunday service. As well as I mentioned, this weekend happens to be Doors Open Richmond. We've been participating, I'm guessing over 10 years now, in this Doors Open Richmond program. And it's a program, of course, where facilities throughout the city of Richmond have an open house to welcome people to come in. Yesterday, we must have had about 70-something, I can't remember the exact number, 70-something people coming in, inquiring, looking at the facilities, inquiring about the teachings. But later in the day, one of the last groups that came by, there was a family, Middle Eastern family. And he asked me, he said, what are the basic tenets of Buddhism? He said, he said, in Muslim, we have these tenets that we follow. So what are the tenets of Buddhism? And so I said, most people don't ask that kind of question when they come here, But I was more than happy to help them out. And it reminded me, actually, first of all, a month ago, a month and a half ago now, I was in southern Alberta, Lethbridge, for the national AGM. And as part of that, they had the guest speaker, Reverend Kuwahara from, Kiyonobu Kuwahara from Berkeley. He's the person in charge of the Jodo Shinshu International Office located in Berkeley. But he gave a very interesting talk, and one of the things he mentioned was the 3 points of listening. Okay, in Jodo Shinshu, there's 3 things that are emphasized. Well, in Buddhism in general, there are 3 things that are emphasized when listening. Okay? And the first is, listen as if it were the first time you've heard it. Okay? Listen as if it were the first time you heard it. Now, this is very important for all of you that come here regularly, because you hear me over and over and over again. And I'm sure I've repeated my talks over and over and over again sometimes. And so you might be thinking to yourself, there goes Reverend Grant, he's repeating his talk again. Well, if you think of it, if you listen as if it were your first time, then you wouldn't have to worry about that. So listen as if it was the very first time you're hearing it, okay? The second of the 3 points is listen as if the talk were just for myself. Okay? Listen as if the talk were just for myself, right? So don't think about others and how it affects them, but how it applies to myself, okay? This teaching is for myself. And then finally, listen as if it is the last time that you're going to hear the talk. Okay? So interesting, the first one was listen as if it was the first time you're hearing a talk, but the last one is listen as if it was the last time you're hearing a talk. Okay? And this is to show the importance on the present, the here and now, right? Don't waste the time or let the time go by, but listen right now, here and now. So, having said that, okay, so the tenets of Buddhism that I was asked, and this is why if you listen as if it were the first time, because some of this you may have heard before. Of course, the very first teaching of the historical Buddha is the teaching that we call the Four Noble Truths, right? And so the Buddha, the first thing he said was that there is suffering in life, the truth of suffering, right? And what this truth of suffering is to say, to acknowledge that there is going to be suffering in life. Welcome, and please have a seat and join us. So the first of the sufferings is this acknowledgement that, or first noble truth, is acknowledging that there is going to be suffering in life. Now, why is this important? Well, the Buddha was often compared to be like a doctor. And the first thing that we need to do, we generally don't think about our doctors when everything is going well. It's when we're not feeling well that we start thinking about, oh, maybe I should make an appointment with the doctor. So that acknowledging that something is not right is very important. Okay, so the Buddha talked about the various types of sufferings that exist. So the second of the Four Noble Truths is the truth of causation of suffering. So just as a doctor would say, if you went to the doctor and said, oh, my chest hurts, he might say, well, let's run some tests. Let's see what the cause of your suffering or your pain is. And the same thing, the Buddha said, let's examine the roots of our suffering. Why is the suffering caused? And that, through his reflection, the Buddha realized, and you've heard this before, is the greed, anger, and traditionally it's ignorance, but we often use the word stupidity in place of ignorance, so that it creates that acronym, GAS, greed, anger, and stupidity, GAS. And just as when we produce gas ourselves, we can create suffering for myself, but also for those around us. Our greed, anger, and suffering can create suffering for ourselves, but all those around us. So the Buddha said these are causes of why we suffer. Then the third of the Four Noble Truths is what's known as the truth of cessation of suffering. Truth of cessation of suffering. So what this was, the Buddha said, there is a state that transcends suffering. There is a state of calm and equanimity. And in order to get that, as going back to that example of the doctor has to know what a healthy person is in order to treat somebody who is not well. So the state of cessation of suffering, the Buddha called nirvana. It's a state of extinguishing the flames of passion. And so when we get to that, how do we get to that state is the fourth of the Four Noble Truths, the truth of path to cessation of suffering. And so the Buddha taught for 35 years how one could rid ourselves of our sufferings. And he starts off with what we call the Eightfold Noble Paths. There are eight paths he talks about, and I'm not going to go into the details here. But the most important thing is the first one of that is right view and right thought. Right view and right thought. So when we think about our suffering, our ignorance, what happens in our daily life, there are many ways of transcending that. There are some paths that involve very arduous, difficult practices. But in Jodo Shinshu, our particular school of Buddhism, it is what we call the easy path. And it's by relying on what we call the Buddha of infinite light and infinite life, Amida Buddha. By entrusting in the workings of Amida Buddha, we are then able to see our own limitations, our own sufferings, and realize we are accepted just as we are. So for us, the right view or right thought in Jodo Shinshu is to understand that I am a being full of blind passions, yet at the same time, this great working of the Dharma embraces me just as I am. And so in that acceptance, I find deep gratitude and appreciation. So in a nutshell, the teachings of Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths, and how it applies for us as Jodo Shinshu followers is the path to the cessation of suffering. So I hope for those of you that have heard this many times before, remember this was the first time you've heard it, and also that it's just for you, and also that this is important teaching just for this moment, as if it were the final time you're hearing a teaching. So with that, I'd like to ask you, please join me as we put our hands together in Gassho to express our appreciation. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. For those of you who are here for Doors Open Richmond and you wish to have a tour of the place, Roy Sensei, could I ask you to give him a quick tour afterwards? So Roy Sensei back there will be able to help you out with that. Okay, so thank you all, and this will conclude this morning's Sunday service. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you.